uprooted culture of misogyny at King's College School, Wimbledon.
It is a searing open letter.
The label of a King's boy is one which has come to mean a privileged, usually white, usually wealthy boy who engages in derogatory behaviour towards women.
And this next line is repeated 3 times in one paragraph.
King's is a hotbed of sexual violence.
An Instagram post, easily done, prompted testimonies not so easily shared.
Instances of verbal abuse and catcalling. There was also a huge culture of ranking and rating girls, giving them a score out of 2.5 for each body part. There were also instances of sexual assault and sexual violence, groping. This was within the school grounds. This was on the street. This was really everywhere.
Potentially really difficult for these young girls and women to share these stories. You may be the first person that they've shared this with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found that really humbling and really heartbreaking at the same time. They didn't feel like they could speak about this with their friends or their family or the school. And actually, it really showed me how voiceless so many young girls and young boys actually feel.
Perhaps the power of social media is reflected in moments like this. Ava Vakil met with the head teacher of King's College School in Wimbledon on Tuesday. He is part of his official response to the allegations. My meeting with Ava was very positive and we will act on what she's told us. The governors are appointing a panel of independent experts to carry out a forensic review of the school's policies, practices and values. We've received serious disclosures and will be referring them to our statutory partners in line with safeguarding procedures.
They've spoken a lot about making their PSHE system a lot more intense and making sure that it involves older children as well in the sixth form. They've spoken about creating an infrastructure in which girls and boys feel more confident to report these kind of behaviours. This independent review is also going to involve experts on sexual abuse, educational experts, lawyers.
Claims of rape, sexual assault and misogyny within a handful of schools are racking up on this website. Everyone's Invited is a campaign that's also grown from one post to thousands of stories.
Just having these conversations, talking about it, having the word rape culture in the press, in the public consciousness, people understanding what it means is, a huge step and achievement in the short term, I believe.
Today at one London school, evidence of online conversations moving into the real world. A red ribbon signifying all those with a story to tell.
And Ria, it is a lot of schools facing similar accusations.
Yeah, it really feels like there's a momentum building here, Duncan, because as you say, the allegations aren't just confined to the school mentioned in my piece. Now, over the last week, pupils and former students from several schools have been coming forward to share their experiences. Today, the Metropolitan Police confirmed it's received 2 complaints of sexual assault in relation to Dulwich College in South East London. They said that they're non-recent claims and their inquiries are ongoing. Obviously, yesterday, pupils at Highgate School in North London walked out of class, again over claims of sexual abuse. And today, that school appointed a former senior judge to lead an external review. So there's a lot going on. And I'll go back to Ava, who wrote the first open letter. She made the point that the boys who perpetrate this kind of behaviour could go on to occupy really powerful, influential positions in their careers.
OK, Ria, thank you very much. And just to say, if you have been affected by any of the issues raised in Ria's report, there is help and advice on our website. 2 men have been cleared of killing a vulnerable man after an attack 18 years ago. Neil Wolford suffered a serious brain injury in an assault in Camberwell in 2003. He was in a permanent vegetative state until he died in 2018. Lawyers argued Mr. Wolford's death from pneumonia was a direct consequence of the attack 15 years beforehand, but after 7.5 hours of deliberations, the jury found the pair not guilty of his manslaughter. Virgin Atlantic is trialling so-called vaccine passports. From mid-April, passengers flying from London to Barbados will be invited to use the Travel Pass app to verify they meet the entry requirements. Meanwhile, the National Police Chiefs Councils today said despite the government's holiday ban, it won't stop or arrest anyone leaving the country. Now, when it comes to treating the wide range of eating disorders, experts agree early intervention is vital. But ITV News has found some patients aren't being referred for specialist help because their weight hasn't dropped low enough. The NHS says that shouldn't determine whether someone can access treatment, but campaigners say it happens regularly, with priority given to those most in need. Lauren Hall has more.
It was this time last year. Farron from Addlestone in Surrey began developing an eating disorder.
I didn't really think lockdown had affected me at first, but then it just got to the extreme of changing my diet and then over-exercising, and then almost one thing led to another and control took over, and I just couldn't stop.
Her GP was supportive and tried referring her for specialist treatment, but she says they were told her weight wasn't low enough.
It almost poses, am I good enough anorexic? How much skinnier do I need to be? Or how much more do I need to hurt myself before they realise that something's actually wrong?
Clinical guidelines state BMI, body mass index, shouldn't determine whether to offer treatment for an eating disorder. Experts say it's vital for patients to get help at the earliest opportunity.
We need to stop fixating on numbers on scales, on BMI charts. We need to start being able to recognise when somebody has cognitively reached a point that is going to cause them more harm than good.
It's a sentiment shared by Hope Virgo from Wandsworth. She runs a campaign called Dump the Scales and believes many are unable to get treatment because they're not underweight.
Hearing story after story every single day is just absolutely heartbreaking. The longer we leave an eating disorder untreated, the more ingrained those behaviours get. We know how crucial early intervention is. Why are we not acting immediately to make sure that person can get that support? Because then they're more likely to recover, they're more likely to get their life back to normal.
The government and the NHS say funding has been increasing for eating disorder services. NHS England say those services continue to step up through the pandemic and that they're expected to work to the expert independent guidance and not reject any patient on the basis of their BMI alone. We've also approached individual NHS trusts accused of turning down patients because of how much they weigh. Now, a couple of them have come back and have said that BMI is one of a number of things they look at, but it wouldn't be their only consideration. Another has told us they've had to prioritise resources to help those most in need. They say here the past 12 months has seen a surge in demand, and while BMI is not a limiting factor for children and young people, it is regrettably a consideration in some of our adult services at this time. Farron's local NHS trusts say they don't just look at BMI, and they are following clinical guidelines. Despite that, she says she's had to seek private treatment. That's why she's speaking out. She says anyone asking for help should be able to get it, regardless of how much they weigh. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
The former Arsenal footballer Thierry Henry has said he's deleting all his social media accounts until online platforms are better regulated. The Gunners legend said in a statement the sheer volume of racism, bullying and resulting mental torture of individuals is too toxic to ignore. He went on to add he feels it's far too easy to create an account and harass people without consequences. Well, the culture in and around sport and what it does to players is a topic very close to the heart of our next guest. Leanne Sanderson was the first female England footballer to come out as gay. She's calling for much more to be done to create an environment in the sport where people can be themselves. And I'm pleased to say Leanne joins us now. Leanne, why do you think we're paying attention to this now when, of course, it has been rumbling on for such a long time?
Yeah, I think the misconception is that racism and, homophobia doesn't exist in England, and it's very prevalent. And I think in recent months, for some reason, it seemed to have people have upped the ante on social media, and I completely understand why. And I expect more players and people from celebrities to come out and come off of social media, because even for people like myself, you know, when I go on TalkSport, when I go on Sky Sports News, when I go on other media outlets, I just know that I'm going to get the abuse. And the problem is you learn to deal with it. But I think it's past the point of having to learn to deal with it. It affects your family. And if people don't like me, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, you hope that everybody likes you. But at the same time, you don't have to. Why do people feel the need to come at me about my, you know, gender, being a woman, being, you know, black, being gay? It's just not nice. So I just think if you want to have an opinion, then have it. But why do people feel the need? And it's too easy for them to get to you as well. And I completely understand why players like Thierry Henry have come off of social media. And I expect a lot more to follow, because enough's enough.
In terms of the homophobia, why do you think, what do you think is stopping players come out? I know it's probably entirely obvious to you, but just remind us, what exactly are these players facing?
Yeah, I think, you know, I get asked the question all the time, why have we never seen a gay male footballer come out when they've been playing? We've seen Thomas Hitzlsperger come out when he retired, Robbie Rogers retired and then came out of retirement once he saw the support he had. But ultimately, I don't know all the answers, but I do know that if, you know, there's no protection now when it comes to racism. It's so prevalent in the world right now, and players feel they're not protected if they come out. And I completely understand. And I just hope that when we're talking about these things, players don't feel pressure, because nobody should feel pressure to come out. It's down to each individual, to their discretion. But I just think, you know, there's always people asking, why has there not been a male player that's come out that they're gay? And I think it's because we can't be sure that they're protected, whether that be in the stands, whether that be on social media. And in this day and age, I completely understand why they don't. I'm lucky that I come from a family that support me, and, you know, no matter what. But at the same time, it's not as easy as that for a lot of people. And I completely understand it. And I do hope that we live in a day and age where a male player does feel that they can come out, because it's a massive burden to carry around every single day. This isn't just about football. This is about your life. And I just think that there just needs to be a platform and a place where people can feel protected when they come out. And we can't be sure that that's going to happen even in 2021. And it makes me sad to say that.
So, Leanne, what can the sport do, and what can we all do as a society to make people more comfortable to be themselves?
I think find the balance. I think in 2021, we have to look at, there are a lot of positives. You know, I think if we look back 10 years ago, women wouldn't be as predominantly on TV as they are. You know, black people wouldn't be as predominantly on TV as they are. So there has been progression, but there's still a long way to go. And I think we just have to make sure that people don't feel pressured into coming out. And we have to find a balance between having a conversation of them feeling supported, but not going on about it so much where people feel fearful to come out. Because let's be honest, the first player that does come out, it will be a big deal, and they know that. And then hopefully after one player comes out, that a lot of players feel like, actually, I can come out too, because I found that when I came out, it wasn't that big of a deal to me because my family is supportive and my friends. But I know how big it was in our sport, because it made people feel comfortable enough to talk about it. And I just want to get away from the stereotype that every single female footballer is gay, because that's not true. And every male footballer can't be gay. There are male gay footballers. They just don't feel comfortable enough to come out. And I just hope that we live in a day and age where they feel comfortable enough to come out when they feel like it. And I just think that comes in hand with the media as well, where if you see people in front of some newspapers and they're not having their names and they're showing them, it's not good. You know, you don't want to feel pressure to think, oh my God, they know it's me. So I just think sometimes you just have to find the balance.
Leanne, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank
Leanne
you.
Sanderson there. Still to come, we'll have the weather forecast for you. Plus, it's a good week for Chris Thompson, a new baby, and a win at the Marathon Olympic Trials. And
send me a map to where I want to spend my one life.
The Lockdown album hitting all the right notes. But first, residents are fighting a new housing development that's been given the green light in Lewisham. They say it's seriously impacting members of the community, among them vulnerable and disabled people whose homes will be shadowed by a huge wall. And London's only beekeeping supplier, whose business is facing closure after nearly 30 years. Carolyn Sim has more.
No problem at all.
Godfrey Munro has been selling beekeeping supplies here in Lewisham for 27 years. A niche business which attracts customers from all over the world, with everything from hives to honey. But a new housing development is about to force him out.
If they close this estate, this business will close as well. We are so well known here, and to find a place like this, This is actually an oasis between big housing estates, and I simply do not see ourselves going anywhere else.
Godfrey's shop is one of 18 small businesses on this estate, which will be flattened to make way for 62 new homes. The development will include some workspace which will be offered to existing businesses. But James Stewart, whose company reupholsters London's black cabs, says the rent will be too pricey.
You're looking at 20, 30, 40 grand a year rent on an archway or moving out of town, basically. That's as simple as that.
But vulnerable people living in the council flats next door have no choice but to stay. Alex Ribeiro's severely disabled son Philippe benefits from their small outdoor space, but all 36 trees opposite their flats will be cut down and replaced with an 18-metre high building.
If we lost this and get a big wall here, unfortunately, I'm quite sure it will be very bad to him. My concern is about Philippe.
Lewisham councillors were split on the decision, so the chairman's vote sealed it.
Thank you, comrades, for putting it in my lap again. That's all right.
The council told us they will mitigate the impact of construction on neighbouring residents, but the Mayor of London must give final approval. So Godfrey won't give up hope just yet. Carolyn Sim, ITV News.
This weekend, the Jewish community will be celebrating the festival of Passover, an event to mark liberation and freedom. But for the second year, instead of coming together with friends and family, the event will take place under lockdown. Sam Holder has been finding out how.
Last-minute Passover shopping in Golders Green. Tomorrow night is the first Seder, an hours-long meal retelling the story of the Jewish people's escape from slavery. But for the second year in a row, there is no escape from lockdown.
Even if people were not religious, Passover is something that almost everybody celebrates in some sort of significant way. If it's not, a full Seder, it's just a family get-together.
There will be no big communal meals this year, but for the local butcher, it's busier than ever. Half of his customers normally go to Israel to celebrate.
I've been doing 300 deliveries a day. I mean, it's been good business, thank God. I'm not complaining, but unfortunately, people, have to buy a small Seder night just for the immediate family, husband, wife, and 2 children, which is very sad.
This is what many Seders look like. The Fettermans is so big they have to hire out a hall. But this is how it looked last year and will look again.
The positives are that last year was the first time we had Seder with all our family. We had people in America, people in Israel joining and being on our Seder, which was really special. You don't really want to be doing Seder on Zoom anymore.
For Rabbi Jana Klausner, this is a festival all about hope.
Passover, the Exodus, has a wonderful message to teach all of us. It's about coming from the narrow place. In Hebrew, Egypt means the narrow place, into liberation. And we will come from this narrow place. 29 million people in Britain have been vaccinated. So that is joyful and hopeful.
Despite a second Passover during the pandemic, in Golders Green today, a sense of optimism.
You've had a year to get used to it.
Unfortunately, we have to stay safe and follow the government guidelines and wait for, hopefully, this time next year when things go back to normal.
We can't travel, we're stuck. Yeah. And it's okay, the sun will come out, it's fine.
Sam Holder, ITV News.
The ITV News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Lucrezia.
Falling COVID infection rates in England begin to level off just as restrictions are about to be eased. On Monday, groups of up to 6 people will be allowed to meet outdoors, so should we expect an increase in cases? Former SNP leader Alex Salmond is to start a new pro-independence party ahead of elections in Scotland, with candidates to run against those of former ally Nicola Sturgeon. Andy Lamb, unable to walk, given a new lease of life with the help of a specially adapted wheelchair. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Sport now, and the runners qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics with laps of Kew Gardens.
keeping up to date.
Hi.
Hi, proud sponsors of ITV Regional Sports Report.
You have to go all the way back to 1980 to experience another Olympic trials race like the one held today. Usually the London Marathon acts as the official qualifying for hopefuls looking to secure a spot at the subsequent games. But with the marathon delayed this year, races took place this morning at Kew Gardens. Ron Nettleford reports.
They're two very different London institutions brought together for the first time, and it's all down to the COVID-19 pandemic. So come to Kew Gardens, relax, enjoy the trees, maybe the flowers and the conservatory too, and perhaps you'll see an Olympic qualifying race as well. So yes, the Gardens of Kew playing host to the marathon race, deciding which runners represent Britain at the delayed Tokyo Olympics this summer. With the London Marathon cancelled again this year, this event became the qualifying race for elite athletes. And here's what winning means for Chris Thompson, who punched through the line first.
I honestly can't put it into words. It's really, really difficult. I've not had a set of emotions like that when I finish a race in my entire life. I haven't been able to speak to my wife yet because she's actually having a check-up with our newborn son who came on Monday morning. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm waiting to see. He's been as good as gold. I'm pretty certain, even though he's 4 days, he's going to be over the moon for me.
COVID rules meant no spectators this morning. The flowers and shrubs don't count. These elite runners were also racing the clock. Stephanie Davis from Wandsworth was well within the 2 hours, 29 minutes and 30 seconds required. That means she can now book her flight to Tokyo. But Stephanie's mum spelt out her priorities before today's race started.
I was saying, like, make sure you kind of look at all the flowers in the Japanese gardens as you're going round.
Did you?
No, I didn't at all. I did kind of had it in my mind, like if I was feeling any kind of discomfort during the run, to kind of look at the external surroundings. But to be honest, my focus was just putting one fruit in front of the other.
Earlier, the Olympic qualifiers for the 20-kilometre walk were selected too. The 3 marathon qualifiers each received a bonsai tree, a head tip to both Kew and Japan. But keeping their bodies in shape will be the biggest priority ahead of this summer's games. Warren Nettleford, ITV News.
On to the weather now, here's Manali.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV London weekend weather.
Hello there, good evening to you. I'm going to do my forecast in reverse today because I want to show you the outlook for the start of next week. High pressure building, plenty of sunshine, and our temperatures warming up as well. By Tuesday, we could see highs of 24 Celsius, possibly getting a bit warmer than that. But in contrast, today, we have been in a bit of a cold snap. It's been a chilly day today. Tonight is looking cold. We will gradually see our showers clear, and then through the rest of the weekend, it's mostly dry and bright, but it will stay quite breezy. So here's the details through the rest of this evening and night. It will be blustery, showers moving in from the west, heavy at times for some hail. The showers will gradually clear through the early hours of Saturday morning, and under our clear skies, temperatures will drop away. A cold night to come, as I mentioned. Temperatures for our towns and cities, 1 to 3 Celsius. For rural spots, of course, it will get so much colder than that, so don't rule out a touch of frost come dawn. So a chilly start to Saturday morning, but a beautiful, bright and sunny start to the day. Any showers should stay to the north of us. As we head through into the afternoon, a bit more cloud building, but still some holes in the cloud to give us some brightness. Still staying quite breezy through Saturday afternoon, but our temperatures starting to recover. We'll be back up into double figures tomorrow afternoon, highs of 11 to 12 degrees Celsius. Then on Sunday, more of the same really, but generally cloudy skies on Sunday. Again, a few holes in the cloud to give us some brightness through the course of the day. The winds will start to pick up a bit on Sunday as well, but temperatures picking up as well, 13 to 14 degrees. Bye-bye for now.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV London weekend weather.
And finally, Electric Umbrella is a charity based in Hertfordshire that uses music to tackle isolation of people with learning disabilities. Throughout lockdown, they've hosted weekly sing-alongs and interactive shows. Now, using more than 200 members and musicians, they've written, recorded and produced an album. Martin Stew has more.
Being heard is hard, especially in isolation. The charity Electric Umbrella is giving people with learning disabilities a voice and a community.
I suffer a lot of anxiety, depression.
There will be no need to stay inside because I'm bored of staying inside.
And are you bored of staying inside?
Yeah. Basically, yes.
This year, Kirsty's social life has been entirely online.
Send me a map to where I want to spend my one life.
If you're stuck in a house all day, you're going to get mad, aren't you? So I find making music is just like heaven.
Kirsty's missed so much this last year, being with friends, being with family, and she can go online and she can see her friends. And she'll sit there and next thing you know, they're singing and these words are joining together and next thing you know, you've got a song. And it sounds great.
It looks like Christmas dinners on Zoom.
After releasing a successful single at Christmas, the team have now made an album.
I found me!
Created entirely remotely with the help of professional musicians
I want to break free.
Like Dan Gillespie-Sells from The Feeling.
All of us as artists feel like we want to get our voices out there. And this gives an opportunity for people that don't normally get their voices heard to be heard.
It's me, it's who I am. You can call us disabled, whatever. Together, we can create music.
We're using the album in place of the gigs that we used to do. Look at this group of people, look how inspiring they are, look how amazing they are. Look what happens when you work together, you co-create, you place as much importance upon each other as anything else.
The album only went on sale today, but Kirsty's already got a taste for fame.
Let's just put it this way, I want to be the next Michael Jackson. I hate to say that, Mum. I really hate to say it.
There you go, sending you onto your Friday evening with music. Coming up next, Lucrezia with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, have a great weekend. See you Monday. Bye.